right. Well, welcome everyone. My name is Esther Lanier. I'm very happy to be here today, joined by three esteemed panelists who are here to speak to us about their experience in the space of sustainability. And I would like just to share a little bit about who they are. Get to here. Right. So joining me today is Dr. Sheila Steinberg. She's the director of CSUN Institute for Sustainability and a professor for geography and environmental studies. And also Darwin Aguilar. He's a senior business analyst for Southern California Edison. And Brenda Osorio. She's the director of community relations for Arevan Energy. So without further ado, I wanted to also share a little bit about each one. So Dr. Steinberg, she is actually my buddy from CSUN. We started working together about 8 months ago. So we've been great partners in the space of sustainability. So a little bit about her. So we know that she's director of the Institute of Sustainability at CSUN and is a professor as well. She focuses her research on connection between people, places, environments, considering local knowledge, networks, and the power of culture and community engagement to generate policy and action. She served as a U.S. Peace Corps volunteer in Guatemala and has taught forestry fire protection at Universidad de San Carolo. She has many publications, so for the students that are joining us, I did send them your full bios. And joining me also is Darwin. So his background is in financial analysis, project management, and data analytics. He spent 17 years exploring data info and in the utility space and is driven by passion and innovation, learning, and collaboration. Some of his great works include about a 1.6 billion deployment project of the 5 million plus smart meters throughout the SE service territory. He has a lot of great accomplishments. He's developed an energy theft program that has helped save energy theft for about 1.5 million a year and 7 million or more for a second year and beyond. And he has identified and reduced fire safety concerns created by high usage accounts. So go Darwin, saving money. And lastly, Brenda, she is a community engagement leader with over 20 years of experience across nonprofit, education, and clean energy sectors. She began her career in higher ed and nonprofit organizations. This early work laid the foundation for a transition into the clean energy industry, where she has led partnerships to expand electric vehicle access, clean energy adoption, and utility scale renewable energy projects. She's been busy as well. And so as a director of community relations at Revon Energy, she works with diverse communities to support utility scale, solar and battery storage projects across the U.S., working at the intersection of policy, community, and technology. She holds an MBA from Cal State LA, where she taught business, communications, and an adjunct lecturer for nearly a decade, and is inspiring the next generation of change makers. All right. Thank you so much for being here today. And again, just for the students that are joining us, please feel free to ask any questions. So I'm going to allow all of you to talk since we're a small group, and we'll just go ahead and have all of you be part of the conversation here. So, all right. So there we go. Now we have a full box of Zoom here. And I'll start with the first question, and anyone that would like to just jump in and, join in the answer. So what was there a defining moment for you or experience that shaped your path in your work in the sustainability space?
I will go ahead and answer that. So I have to say, you heard Esther read a little bit of my background. So I actually am in the sustainability space, and I took the non-STEM route. My background was teaching in higher ed, nonprofits. And then a few years ago, I think the changing point was the momentum that clean and renewable energy has. It was exciting. A lot of that was sort of led to and then was kind of pushed forth by the Inflation Reduction Act in 2022. And so I was a late comer to clean and renewable energy, which just goes to show that it's really growing and expanding. And folks like myself who don't have a STEM background, I actually graduated from CSUN back in 2004. And my undergrad was Chicano and Chicana Studies with a minor in women's studies. I think that it's called something differently now, all these years later. But I certainly was never planning for a sustainability career. It just happened. So that momentum coincided with my I think I was ready for a change in career, and I said, okay, this is exciting. I'm looking for impactful work, and I certainly care about renewable energy, and I care about making the world a better place. So that was the motivation that I had for jumping in and making a career pivot. So I think for me, it's really important that students know that you don't have to necessarily have this really traditional education and background to join in sustainability, because it's such an exciting, growing area for folks to explore.
Would anyone like to add anything to this question?
I'll briefly add, I share Brenda's sentiment. You kind of don't plan for it. I myself kind of fell into it. So previous to starting work at Southern California Edison, I was actually in the automotive space working for Land Rover. Ford Motor Company had just purchased them. And, you think automotive and you don't think, right, environmental or sustainability, right? But the recession hit. I was offered a job out in New Jersey. I did not take it because I, had family connections here, and I was expecting we were expecting our second baby. This is how Edison came into my being, and how I happened to, I feel by chance, get into, the whole sustainability effort, because they were deploying at the time the 5 million meters to all customers across their 50,000 square mile service territory. So, that got me essentially into, the, basically plug and play of the meters, where are they headed? What's the budget? What's our forecast? And since I had some of that background, right, that helped. And I feel that's how I got in. And, through there, I just been doing things that make a small contribution to the greater effort. So you don't necessarily have to have a plan or a path, but whatever it is that you choose to do, right, as Brenda has shown, you just do it, with passion, right? It's a passion that comes of doing what you want to do, what you like to do, and what you're passionate about, which is, I think for most of us here, I would say all of us here, is, to make contributions, to work as a team, to collaborate, and to get things done, to get that goal that we're all after, which is, to do the right thing for, ourselves and for the companies that we work for.
Most definitely. Dr. Steinberg, any?
Yeah, sure. So, hi everybody. I've always had this interest in people and nature. And, growing up, I'm half Indian from Southeast, so half Southeast Asia. My dad's from India. So growing up, I had my mom is white, Caucasian from Kentucky. And so half my people were like rural Kentucky people, worked on the Ford Motor Company assembly line. My grandpa had a farm. So as a kid, we'd go to his farm. The other half of my family was like people in India who were really into education. They were Brahmin. They didn't really care about money, but they cared about education more than anything. So those are kind of the values that hard work, working class on my mom's side, but, high achievers on my dad's side. And the interesting thing is when you grow up like in a mixed race family, you have to navigate multiple cultures, religions. My dad was Hindu, my mom's Southern Baptist, now I'm married to a Jewish guy. It's just interesting. It's like a joke, right? And it's very interesting. So like I grew up traveling to different geographies. Oh, surprise, I'm a professor of geography. Like, so to me, it was always about people and places. And I love culture. Culture is very important to me because I see that that's the root for how we engage with our environment. It kind of drives everything, but we don't always stop to consider it. And I'm very passionate about engagement with communities. So a lot of my work with students, You know, I teach a lot about how do you engage with communities in a great manner so that it empowers them. So whatever research you're doing, it lifts them up, you know, through your methods, through your approach. And so to me is that intersection, always love people and nature, and I've, you know, got an interdisciplinary focus, and that's okay. But I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was going to go into the media to be a newscaster, but I didn't quite have the right look back in the 80s. So decided, well, let me go in this other way. So I love it, and I'm really excited to be here on the panel with these great folks.
Yes, most definitely. And for the students joining us, if you have any questions right away, feel free to unmute yourself and ask your question. I will continue asking those. So I'm curious, you know, as I'm hearing from most of you here that you've gotten into the space sort of by happenstance, you know. So I'm curious if you can share with me what have been some exciting trends or innovations that you're seeing in the space that you're in right now that is fueling your motivation, your energy to stay within the field.
I can go ahead and start. So I work for Revon Energy, and they are essentially a clean and renewable energy company that's creating renewable energy at a utility scale. So if you think about these large solar farms, you know, out in the Midwest, that's typically what most people are have in their head as a what connects most when I say solar farm. So it's utility scale renewable energy. My job in particular is director of community engagement. So I'm working on the ground, sort of boots on the ground, working with communities, really to get them sort of educated on what that means and how that would impact their local community, the benefits, what we do to make that safe, how we can benefit the community, what the process is. Now, I'm not an expert in clean and renewable energy and how solar photovoltaic works, but I don't have to be. That's the exciting part. But what I need to know is how to talk to folks and how to be able to work with communities. But I think some of the more exciting things that are happening, like I said, is that the technology is moving so quickly when it comes to renewable energy. And of course, that is undoubtedly being impacted by AI. It's coming swiftly. I think it's affecting it. What industry is it not affecting, right? I think that, you know, pretty soon, if you think about a solar farm at the moment has a lifespan of about 20 to 25 years. And in the future, that could change based on technology. I think some other exciting things happening is battery energy storage. And that's actually happening a lot in California here. So if you think about the battery that's in your phone, essentially, how do we use it at a larger scale, so that utility scale, that we could use it at a utility scale, and this energy that would otherwise go to waste is being stored, and that we are essentially stabilizing our grid that way. It's exciting stuff going on, and there's so much growth at the moment that I think it's really becoming the space where lots of folks, it's growing so quickly that I'm seeing, I mean, individually at our company at Revon Energy, on its own, we've nearly added about like 100 people in the last year. It's been incredible growth. So I think the trend is that the policy is moving right along with it to support clean and renewable energy. Again, the Inflation Reduction Act was a big push, and it continues to be, even with the tariffs. You know, whatever's happening with the tariffs, I mean, it could potentially change things, but the truth is, like, the momentum is on. So I think for utility scale energy, and for anybody interested in the grid and how you get electricity to communities and into your home, there's a lot going on there.
Definitely technology has, you know, sped up every
Yeah.
possible advancement possible.
Darwin, do you want to go?
Sure. Thank you for that, Dr. Steinberg.
Yeah.
Well, what I will say is you said quite a bit of what I was going to say, Brenda. I want to
Oh,
echo
see?
that same sentiment. Uh, but one thing I will add though, and again, by the way, this is just my opinions, right? It's not Edison, all this, I'm not representing Edison, it's me, my thoughts here, my opinions. But I think that you brought this up about policy. I think that the technology is changing and we're chasing after, obviously what's the most efficient, what is, cost savings, for example, what gives us the most bang for our buck. But I think that the policy is
Mhm.
closely behind, the technology and the things that we want to do. People are, again, exploring, what are the possibilities, what can we do? And I feel that, the California Public Utilities Commission needs to, in my opinion, right, get up to speed on kind of setting the stage for the direction that the utilities will proceed going forward. Because right now,
Mhm.
everybody's got a thought, everybody's got an opinion of how to do things, what we should be doing. And I feel that, they have to catch up and kind of set the guidelines and be very clear about it so that, the utilities have direction as to what they need to do and how they're going to go about doing it, which, by the way, they do have a plan. It's very general, right? I think it's called 2045. I know Edison has published that. So, again, getting on board, getting aligned, and being very engaged with the regulatory bodies is very important and something that will go hand in hand with the new technology that's up and coming here for all of us.
Thank you. Great answer from both of you. So I think the trends that I'm seeing is really interdisciplinary is where it's at. So for so many years, people have acted like, oh, it matters what you major in. But guess what? It does not matter what you major in. And that's what I'm going to say. I mean, it matters that you study something that you're passionate about and that you can pursue and that you can get after it. And I think the trend is also that sustainability in the past was like eco groovy, like I'm going to recycle this bottle. Watch me. Like I was up at Humboldt for a lot of years as a professor and a director. And now I'm down here back in SoCal where I'm from. And it's like, you know what? No, sustainability is about culture. It's about people. It's about how many immigrant people, families that we're from, were thrifty with things. They reuse containers. I'm half Indian. We go on trips, we take the food. So we're reusing things all the time. That's sustainability, but we're not used to calling it that. So I'm saying it's a reframing of what is sustainability. You don't have to be in the environmental field to be sustainable. As my colleagues on this call, on this Zoom have pointed out, you just have to get after it and be passionate about whatever skill you have, whether it's science, storytelling, policy, chemistry, whatever. There's a role for you in this field of sustainability. That's what I want to say.
Yeah, if I can add to that, you're absolutely right. I was a business major,
Mhm.
did with the numbers, financials, and I really enjoy that. And then I got into the data, right, the analytics, which is related. I no longer was working with dollars per se,
Mhm.
but I was working with widgets. And what I will say is that, continue to be curious. It doesn't matter what background you're from. You bring something, you bring a key insight, a different perspective
Mhm.
that I don't have, where you can add that piece of, the puzzle that will help spark an idea or generate, action to do something differently. So bring it. Just make sure you're curious. You collaborate, and that you follow your values, whatever those may be,
Mhm.
and you're open and transparent, right? And you help people, and the general stuff that I don't have to tell you. Just be sure to bring it and to be open about it and to share, right? And be open to
Yeah.
as well to people to push back.
Yeah,
I think
that's
this is where things happen and people get ahead is when they can trust you, that you can say something like, I will trust you more if you say something to me that I have not been made aware of.
Mhm.
And I go, wow, I respect, him or her for telling me that.
Yeah.
And I'm going to work with them, that you build that trust, you build that collaboration, camaraderie, and you get things done.
Mhm.
Definitely. Just want to check in with either David or Nasheen. Do you have any questions for our panelists? Feel free to unmute yourself if you would like. Again, I'll continue asking some questions. But just in the same conversation in terms of how each of you, are in the space of sustainability. When you were looking at making that pivot or just going into that space, what were some of the experience that you brought in or your transferable skills that really helped you start navigating a new space within the industry?
I'm happy to answer that because that was more recent for me where I was, making a complete career change. I would say that so before this, I worked for the Los Angeles Clean Tech Incubator, again, doing community relations. And that's where that's where I really got my foot in the door and started to work with clean energy, in particular EV deployment and EV cars, as far as getting them out in the community. During the interview process, I focused so much on what I was already good at. And anybody can start there. Anybody can start with what you're already good at. Because so much of what you do, let's say you're really great at communicating, or you're really great at outreach, or you're really great at whatever it is in your personal background, or at school, if you were typically the student that led this piece in student groups, whatever that is, highlight it. That's what I did. And then as far as the piece where I needed to know things that I didn't know, what I did is I highlighted my curiosity. I know that Darwin also highlighted this. I just, was like, I'm really curious about this. I'm ready to learn. I'm fast. And what I think students have an advantage right now is that I was years out of school, but students, you're right in the thick of learning, of doing research, of working in groups, and you have that, you're in learning mode. So use that to your advantage, because I know that that's what I tried to highlight as I was jumping into a new career. It's like, hey, I'm really good at this, but I think students, because you're doing that every day, you've been doing it for the last few years, you're an advantage there to be able to say, hey, I don't know yet about this particular role or this particular subject, but I can research, I can write a paper, I can learn quickly, and then the rest was just what you were naturally good at. And of course that took a lot of practice with interviewing. I still practice my interviews. I've never stopped, and I think that it has worked well for me.
Esther, can you repeat the question again?
Yes, as you moved into the space of sustainability, what were the skill sets that you were able to bring into the new space that you are in, or your transferable skills?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'll take that next. So yeah, for me, it's really trust building, communication, and community engagement with people, and saying, let's meet people where they are. So with the concept of, with a word like sustainability, it hits some people great, it hits some people awful, because they think when you say that it's a word that's been greenwashed ad nauseum, going back all the way to the 80s. So some people have very strong reactions to it. So I think it's really about finding again that thing, like Brenda said, that you're good at, just jumping off from there and saying, there's an aspect, if we're thinking about things like environmental justice, if we're thinking about things like business, because business makes the world run, it's about how can we build stronger communities, enable stronger workforces. This means having jobs, right? So to me, when I approach sustainability, it's really through a jobs lens, a career lens, which is why I'm so excited to be on your panel, Esther, because it's all about, for our students, sure, you're going to get a degree, but your job may have nothing to do with your career. Your job may have nothing to do with your major. So it's all about those networks. We always say, my other professors and I say, it's not how much you know, it's who you know. So again, I'm going to say it's the hookup with who you know that comes from, like, are you a good talker? Are you a good storyteller? Are you whatever it is, that it's really about the networks and so having those soft skills are huge, but we don't even talk about that at the university, but we should be. We should be teaching everybody how to network instead of like doing homework. Maybe a little homework.
Yeah, networking is key.
Yeah.
It is big. And like, for example, I feel I'm a people person. I think I am, but when I hear you guys talk, definitely you guys are people person. But what I bring is, for me, it's like numbers. It's black and white, but I don't see it as being so square. I essentially, I take something like, someone gives me some information, numbers. It's black and white. I write it down, and then, next month, someone reports out the same information for the following month and for the prior month, right? Now it's different. It's as simple as, hey, can you help me understand what happened? What is the
Right.
story? What is that variant?
Right.
Can you help me understand?
Mhm.
And again, you start building those bonds with people. You're questioning
Mhm.
in a good, positive, non-threatening way by saying, help me understand, because here's what I got last month, but now I'm seeing something else.
Yeah.
Right? And I've had those instances where people start feeling very uncomfortable. And then, you just pull away, but at least they're aware already. And they're like, oh, something's up,
Mhm.
which, by the way, doesn't mean that it's wrong. It may mean that the data is wrong, but now at least you found a problem.
Mhm.
And the key, at least for me, what I try to do is, where can I add value, even if it's just a little bit? Where can I give Esther a perspective that she did not have, and now she can take that and say, oh, I can use that, right?
Mhm.
And you just go about it when you deal with people in that way, and you help people out. You
Mhm.
bring your perspective to it, your information, your knowledge, whatever you have.
You mentioned networking, how important it is. If I can just give an example of how I was able to bring this panel together is, I know Darwin since our college years at CSUN, and I reached out to Brenda through LinkedIn. And
Yeah.
Dr. Steinberg, I know her because she was a new employee when I was a new employee. So
Yes.
that's how the networks
Mhm.
are homegrown, and obviously you
Mhm.
expand out. And also just so you know as well, for the students joining us, Ask a Matador is a great resource to tap into the thousands of alumni networks that CSUN has. So definitely tap into, and that's also you curated through the Alumni Association. But David, you had a question. I saw your hand up, so feel free to unmute yourself and ask your question. Yeah, there you are.
Yeah, I'm right here. Thank you. Yeah. I just wanted to know, I just wanted to say, like, this is my first year here at CSUN as a junior. I'm studying marketing, and I've been thinking the path of energy, and hearing you folks talk about sustainability is really giving me a lot to think about when it comes to that space. So I want to know a little bit more of how energy plays a role in sustainability. Thank you.
I'm sorry, David. How energy? What? I'm sorry, I missed.
Plays a role in sustainability. How energy plays a role in sustainability.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to talk about it from the clean and renewable energy aspect of it, as far as what my experience has been thus far. And that is, and I love that you're coming from a marketing perspective, because that's really key to this. So, at a really high level, is the energy grid that essentially is an energy system that's bringing electricity to your home every day. Is what we're trying to do is to essentially diversify where that energy is coming from, so that it's not coming all from fossil fuels, right? So that it is coming from solar, wind power, um, different types of zero emissions energy. Now, what's really exciting again is that this grid is being upgraded. It's an older grid, so there's this big movement to bring energy up to date and to really add clean and renewable energy as part of that grid. What I think is really important for somebody like you and where you fit in this puzzle is that there is a story to tell to folks, is that it's about storytelling. Because how do you tell somebody in their everyday life that, hey, you should care about the grid? Because who knows what the grid is? It sounds like this mysterious, vague like we don't really know what it is, but as a marketer, you get to be the one who sits around and thinks about how do we get people to care about energy? Well, you tell them a story, and how do we get them to be more curious about energy, because it's changing so quickly, and how do we get them to engage with us? That's all marketing. So for you, there's a big job for you out there now. I personally work with communities, and storytelling is so important, but I'm also telling that story, not just to community folks, but local decision makers. So the local council member, the assembly member, right? Because they need to be informed as well too. So if you think about energy and marketing, I think there's so much work for you, David. So I hope that you're ready, because there's a lot of opportunities out there.
Yeah, there's a need. I mean, one big one that you guys probably know all about is, the whole electrification, right? Of, say, the Port of LA, right? We have to deliver that message, and you would play a role with doing that, David, right? Or electrification, even of homes, right? They want to move away from natural gas into everything electric because it is cleaner. So, people don't think that, right? They think, oh, gas is more sustainable. Well, actually, no, it's electricity. There's some things in there, right, that you have to iron out. But the
Yeah.
point is, you play a key role to delivering that message. Absolutely.
Yep. And I would
Thank you
just
so
jump.
much for that.
Thank you. Yeah. I would just add into it as well. Storytelling is a big part of the skill set that I teach. I do a lot of geospatial storytelling, using maps and images and apps to engage with people, communicate their stories visually, because we know, and then this in marketing and business analytics, a picture's worth 1,000 words, like a graph, a chart, a figure. So I think that's very powerful, and learning to be respectful and to listen to people is a huge part of storytelling as well, that Brenda was mentioning. So that I think, again, a lot of the geospatial technology I see infusing into business. I see it infusing into sustainability, and it's really about how can we take data like the data that Darwin works with, and how can we use that to then imply in a short and sweet but meaningful way some action, some decision that needs to occur, so that as scientists, we're not just viewed as like some weirdos stuck in the ivory tower. So like I just had a brand new book come out, this book, and it's like stories from scientists about how they engage with people around climate, vulnerability, and health. Because like we know that who gets hurt the most when there's like climate change? It's the poor people, it's the ethnic people. But we have to tell stories in understandable language, right? So people can get excited and be like, well, what do I do? I'm going to go do this, So I think having all these things that the folks here are saying, right on, right on. So I think you're in a good stead, a good field for sure. And happy to talk to you anytime. I'm on campus in the sustainability office, so if you ever want to
That's
stop
cool.
by, please do. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to stop by. What you
Yeah.
said about using the tools, I'll give you an example. We use Esri, right?
Okay, good. Yeah, that's what we use. Yeah.
And we take the latitude, longitude, lat long,
Mhm.
short, lat long, and we map these things, right? And
Yeah.
for wildfire inspections, where are our assets?
Yep, that's right.
And then we overlay layers to say this is a
Mhm.
high fire area, this is not a high fire area. So all these data points, right? It's data with visual analytics to have people see something and again tell the story. And David, if you understand those things, right? It's marketing, but it's also analytical. It's also the visualization, the tools. Power BI is another one that you can use to essentially put these graphs, these tools to tell the story, to get people to take action, to do something. And this is where that marketing is key and comes into play.
Good. Any other questions from either David or Nashim? I'll keep asking questions as you think about some. But I'm also curious to ask you, my panelists here today, being in the field, what have you faced are the biggest challenges that, in terms of, going into new field, but also as you are seeing the the field just progressed so fast, with all these technology changes. What are some challenges that you face in your day-to-day work?
I'm going to get on that right away. And I'll
Yeah.
tell you, number one, Donald Trump, politics, the assassination of anything with the word climate. Like them all. Do we need to burn my book? Too bad it just came out. It has the word climate in it, right? So like this so it's like, yeah, you know what? That is a challenge. But guess what? When you really love something, you just get after it, but you use different language. So I think it is a challenge, but it's not. So like a lot of funding is getting cut to a lot of professors, but so what? We're still going to get after it. We're still going to care about it. Our students are still going to care about the communities and the people and the places, but we just get after it in a different way using different language. That's what I would say. That is like a number one challenge, that if you care about the environment, some folks are like, oh, you're eco groovy, you're anti-industry. It's like, no, shut up. No, we're talking about jobs and workforce development and, to hook it up that way. So that's what I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to agree with Dr. Steinberg. So part of what I do is I'm working on projects all over the country, which is, it's really nice to travel and get to connect with people from different backgrounds and see different communities. I love it. I do. But you have to be aware that the politics in different, not everywhere is like California. So when we go to different parts of the country, we don't say clean or green. And we
What do you
actually,
say? Like, what do
we
you say?
we'll call it solar energy or
Oh,
solar
okay.
farms,
Okay.
or
Yeah.
even stay
Yeah.
away from solar farming because folks have a problem with that. We'll
Oh,
say just solar projects.
okay.
Big job.
Yeah, because folks do not like climate, the word climate, the word clean, or the word renewable or green.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we stay away from those, and we are just sensitive to the communities that we're working with. But yeah, absolutely. And it's undeniable that politics and public policy are really affecting um, the work, the kind of work that we do. It is absolutely. So you have to have teams like the community relations team
Mm-hmm.
to help the engineers, right? So our company is full of engineers and really technical folks, but you need to have the marketers and the community engagement folks to be able to, again, story tell and be able to do it in a respectful, curated, thoughtful, and intentional way.
Sure. Looks like we lost one student. David, do you have any questions? Not to put you on the spot. I do have more questions I can continue asking our panelists today, but as David is exploring this area, what would you say are some professional organizations or any online certifications? How can he get plugged into more knowledge in the field of sustainability with more professionals? Any particular professional organizations or certifications that you would suggest that he explored to expand his knowledge of the field?
I would say that it sort of depends. There's so many groups right now. Honestly, it's really exciting. There's a lot going on. There's also a very big push to get folks, people of color, into sustainable jobs, into green jobs. There is, it was for many years a industry dominated by white men. It just was.
Mm-hmm.
And even if, as short as a few years ago. So there's a big push to get people of color into these types of jobs. And so I would highly recommend that. I mean, you can go on LinkedIn and see plenty of opportunities for professional groups. But the other thing that I do that I would recommend other folks do, like I said, I'm still learning. I just read articles in the paper because there's, again, so much happening, and it's developing, and the technology is developing quickly, that I keep up, and I specifically read articles about battery energy storage, solar panels, panel technology and development, wind also I'm curious about. So I continue to just stay focused on what's happening in the field. And that's actually really, I think it's really important to be able to do that as you're learning.
David, you had your hand up. Go ahead and ask your question.
Yes, thank you for that. Yes, I usually stay up the news every day.
Yeah.
And adding to Professor Lenier's question, and I wanted to know if there's like a specific certification that you recommend that I should be studying right now before I try to maybe intern with one of these energy companies. And furthermore,
sorry,
I
David,
would
go ahead.
like, yes,
No,
sorry.
go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh,
Go ahead.
yes, and furthermore, if you can recommend a company to look at that is more on the multicultural work environment where they have more diversification of people. Thank you.
Yeah, I will comment on the certification aspect of it. I think a general certification that sits well, not only in the utility space, but pretty much anywhere, is it's called project management certification. There are two, right? I mean, the project management certification courses that you can take, and also the one called the project management um, professional certification, PMP. Those would be, two, especially the PMP, because it's an actual certification that you get from an organization. That is a key one that you can use across any industry. So I recommend that. As far as companies, I think, again, I like to think about it this way, and I tell my girls, like, if you love soccer, right? People want to be the best soccer player, and you want to play and do this. Well, maybe you're not going to be the player, but maybe you work for FIFA, right?
Yeah.
Supporting the soccer team. So you have to think about that, David, what you want to do and how you want to approach it, your skill set. But one thing I will tell you is research the companies. You have tools, LinkedIn, Glassdoor, Indeed, there's a multitude of others, right? Salary.com. Look at that information. And I would suggest you read up on them and make sure that they have a mission, make sure they have a vision, make sure they have values, and you talk to people within those companies informally, reach out to them, right? And let them give you the scoop on things one-on-one. And when, again, you start making those connections and they see that you're really interested in, oh man, this guy fits, he would fit our company culture, that's where the opportunities are, even if it's to get your foot in the door. Again, it all depends too. I mean, you can be in marketing at Ford Motor Company. It's going to be different than marketing at Edison, than marketing at Pepsi, right? Slightly different, but it's depending here on what you want to do and what your objectives are, who you are as a person and what you want to do and where you want to do it. But read up on them.
And David, I have a plugin for you, AI plugin. Either use ChatGPT or DeepSeek and ask the question, give me a list of DEI-friendly companies and sustainability. And you're going to get a wealth of list of companies. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was going to also say, we have a thing through the Institute of Sustainability called Sustainability Champions. And we are going to start it again next year. I'll be running it next year. So I'd encourage you, reach out. We'll get you connected to that. It's a program for students, staff, faculty, where we talk about different topics related to sustainability. At the end, you get a participation certificate for being in that. But you'll learn a lot about the different arenas of sustainability through participation in that CSUN run free program. So send me an email, sheila.steinberg@CSUN, and I'd be happy to get you connected up to that.
Yeah.
We also wanted
David.
Sorry, go ahead, Brenda.
Oh, I would also say that honestly, nothing beats experience. If you can get a internship, internships are amazing. They really are. I think you said you were a junior. Really think about and consider and making time for during your time at CSUN to explore internships, and if you can, if they're paid, amazing. If not, if you can make it work, go for it, because those look so amazing on your resume. So yeah, because nothing beats experience. It really doesn't. And I, looked at a lot of resumes, and I always look at internships as a real good faith effort on the students' part to get that hands-on experience. And to me that matters. The other thing I would say is, as you're exploring different energy companies, and I know because I did this as I was looking too, don't be discouraged. If I always look at companies, and Darwin is absolutely correct, when you're looking and researching, look at mission, vision statement, right? But I always like to look at who the leadership is and kind of get an idea of like what kind of company I would be joining. Don't be discouraged if you see only all white men. It just happens to be that is sort of the trend right now, because that's changing. Despite what's happening politically, again, the industry is really making a good faith effort at pushing folks to get into these types of roles. So I'm currently at a Revon. It's an amazing company. They have a diversity initiative that they have not abandoned, and it's been an incredible company to work for. So please don't be discouraged by what you see online. I mean, really reach out, network, talk to folks that work there, and they'll be able to tell you.
That's also a place where I would say LinkedIn is very helpful, because it lets you see the employees are in those particular companies, and even tag, identify CSUN alums.
Yep.
So that'll give you another space to explore.
Thank you.
Thank you for asking your questions, David. Do you have anything else that you want to, ask them? The floor is yours. Look at this. You got the a panel of three of us here to.
I feel really privileged at this moment. Trust me.
That's awesome.
I just wanted to say it's very nice to be in front of you through Zoom. Thank you so much. It's nice to meet you. I gain great insights today from this Zoom meeting and this panel. Thank you so much.
Definitely.
Yeah, and make sure that you connect with us on LinkedIn, because if there is, my company in particular is Arizona based. I'm a remote worker, so I get to stay in LA. But if you connect with me, I'm happy, and there's an opening that comes up, I'm happy to flag you.
Yes, definitely. I will send you a request on LinkedIn.
Yeah,
Thank you.
same here, David. Yeah, and again, explore opportunities, and by the way, it may not be our company, right? So for example, people have reached out to me 2 weeks ago. I used to work for Ford Motor Company, and a friend of mine had a friend who was interviewing and wanted to connect with someone that I knew. And guess what? She reached out to me, connected us, and I connected them. So that's how it works, right? The networking, because now you've come, oh, there's someone who knows, there's a connection, and that is so key, man. I couldn't stress that enough, that it just matters. It just matters. So reach out.
Definitely. Thank you.
Yeah, and David, please reach out to me too. I'll help you out with the things going on over here on the CSUN campus related to sustainability and my networks as well. So I'm in LinkedIn also. But yeah, we're both here, so we should connect up.
Awesome. Thank you.
Well, I want to honor your time, and I want to thank you so much for giving us so much information about your journeys in the space and how you've navigated new industries, and how you have successfully impacted, in the sustainability space through each of your roles. We have about 5 minutes left. I'm not sure if David has any more questions, but if we don't, I want to thank you again for supporting me in launching this Matador Insight series. For my time here at CSUN. I've only been here 8 months, so
Great job, Esther.
Yeah.
Thank you. And thank you for giving sustainability, the spotlight.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
And it's Earth Day today. Did I say
Yay!
it?
Yeah.
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 And David, if I can leave one more tip or advice, at least from my perspective, don't be so hard on yourself. Always be curious. Always, do what you have to do, which I'm sure you will. But give yourself some grace. Always, do what's, just keep a balance. Work is very important, but it's not everything, right? You got to take care of yourself, because if you're not doing well, nobody around you is going to do well. So always keep that in mind.
That's great advice. Thank you so much, Darwin.
Yeah.
Right. Well, thank you again, everyone. We'll be in touch for sure. Thank you again for your support. And go Matadors.
Matadors.
Right.
Yeah.
Go
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Matadors.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye,
you,
everyone.
everyone. Have a good
Thanks.
one.
Bye.
Thanks.
Happy
Have a good
Earth
one. Bye.
Day.
Happy Earth Day.
Happy
Happy
Earth
Earth Day.
Day. Bye-bye.
Bye.